You're listening to Tapestry, a podcast by a music lover for music lovers. I'm your host, Kelly. Music is a thread that weaves a course throughout our lives. Join me on a journey to unravel that thread and bring you the stories behind what inspires musicians to create. Side note, Tapestry is an uncensored podcast. Don't say I didn't warn you. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on episode 57 of Tapestry, where tonight's guest is Kiera Pietrangelo, who happens to be the guitarist and composer of the Bay Area-based symphonic, blackened, melodic death metal band. I don't know, there are a lot of things. Arcane Existence. She joined me to discuss all sorts of topics, like empowering other women in the metal music world, working toward achieving her goal of being endorsed, how she and her band built their own set in a band member's backyard for a music video, and more on the fantastical and expressive themes of Arcane Existence's upcoming album, Colossus. You will now hear a little bit of a single off that same album called The Altar. Kiera Pietrangelo, you are here. Thank you for joining me on my show. And I just want to preface this interview with a thank you and a shout out to Kyle Schaefer from Archaeologist, because he was how you found me. And to anybody who's new to my show, he was my episode 34. Go back and listen to that one. I'm sure we will find some little links, some little Bay Area links in this interview. But yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? And I usually like to start off by asking people kind of their musical history. How did you get here?
Oh, God, that's a lot. Well, first of all, I play guitar in Arcane Existence. Definitely not my first band. I have a long history of just anything from small jams with people I met on Craigslist to, bands that claim they want to go somewhere and then just kind of fall off the deep end. My musical history, I mean, I can go as far back as when I first picked up a guitar.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
So I started with piano before guitar. I played piano for 2 years. My basic need was to play a song I liked. And at the time, to be completely honest, I wasn't even really into music that much. I kind of listened to No Doubt a little bit. I was really into them when I was younger. Still really like their stuff. And I couldn't play a No Doubt song on piano. Nobody does that, but it didn't happen. So I quit piano and started guitar when I was about 13. And within 6 months, I was playing Don't Speak, like the entire song acoustically. And I was like, this is it. This is the instrument. I can play what I want to play. And it just kind of progressed to me writing my own stuff, which I'll let you know it was terrible. The early stuff I wrote made no sense. There was no cohesion to the riffs. It was just absolute nonsense. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that I wanted to make metal and I wanted to make stuff heavy. Took maybe a few years before I could do that. And then that was when like Cradle of Filth, Demon Borgir, that kind of stuff started to influence my writing. I was writing like 8-minute long black metal songs that were not that interesting. But
damn, right out the gates. Okay.
Just like all tremolo picking and blast beats and, playing it to my class in high school. They all probably thought it was really weird.
I was just going to ask you, what age were you at this? And I'm like, so the most vulnerable, embarrassing time of your life to be writing stuff like this.
Yeah. I remember playing that. And I went to a technically a Mormon high school where
gosh.
My class size was like 13 people. So everybody knew each other, whether you wanted to or not. And everybody definitely knew me as the guitarist and kind of the outcast. I wanted to play metal and do dark, evil stuff. And, but I embraced it. And I tried to make projects and bands all throughout the years. I started with making music clubs in high school that for the small school that I was still able to get a few people in there. And I just wanted to create stuff with people and play music. after that, it was, yeah, like I said, a lot of Craigslist stuff, a lot of people saying, oh, let's get signed. We're so good. And then they never leave the house. And it's like, well,
Right.
doesn't really work. And lots of bands that just, to be completely honest, a lot of sexism too. A lot of people saying that they would let me write and I'd send them stuff. They say it's good. They'd never use it, or they'd never let me write anything. That was the majority of everything up until Arcane Existence was.
Did you grow up in the Bay Area, or hearing Mormon, I'm thinking outside of California? I mean, I know there's some Mormon population in California, but, you know, I'm thinking like Salt Lake City or something.
No, I grew up in the Bay. I've been living in the same house my whole life. Yeah, it was like down south in the more rural spots of California. It's like
interesting.
A private Mormon school of small amount of people, and yeah.
Who knew that was a thing? I guess when you hear around here, oh yeah, I went to Catholic school. I guess I just never thought regionally you'd have the same parallel. Oh yeah, I went to Mormon school.
Yeah. I mean, no, Catholic schools are really common here too.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm learning so much. Now, did you feel I mean, I guess ostracized because, you know, the little that I do know about the LDS church, and I mean, if this gets into sensitive topics, feel free to cut me off, but like, can't imagine it was all too welcoming to someone who wants to express themselves in the arcane arts, you know?
Right. It was very, it wasn't too hardcore because despite the fact that it was Mormon, they didn't make us learn anything religion-based. And that was why I went there, was purely because of that. Like, the owners were Mormon. A lot of the people that went there were Mormon, but they didn't force you to learn it. I definitely did, you know, go to the principal's office a few times purely out of self-expression, just out of wearing too much makeup, wearing too much black. You know, principals like call my parents, letting them know, like, you know, I'm sitting alone in the hallway and that's suspicious or something.
No.
You know, other teachers thought like my parents had drinking problems, even though there's none of that, purely because of like the stuff I write. Like, I'd write like really dark poetry too. That didn't help. It was just a lot of judgment from people that don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
God, I can relate, I guess. But well, let's get into then how Arcane Existence as your primary project now. How did that come to be? Like, when did that offshoot from your normal musical stuff?
Yeah, that when I left Among the Torrent, I wanted to make an album because I was tired of being in bands where I didn't make anything, and I finally had learned enough to feel like I have the material, I have the capability to do this on my own. I'm just going to do it. And it didn't come without struggles, of course, but I did it fully financially on my own and just found the people on my own and made The Dark Curse, the first album, just from connections and people I knew and going in with a budget. I did not expect people to care beyond my friends and family. That was purely what it was for. I had no intention of actually promoting it or anything. And so when people actually liked it, people started reaching out to me that they liked it, like local members of other bands and friends. We started to think about maybe going with a live lineup, and I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. That sounds kind of like, why would people want to come see this stuff? Like, do people really care about this stuff? And surprisingly, when I started reaching out to people, they were down. And the first lineup, you know, most of those people are still here now in the band. Like, you know, Harley on drums, he was one of the first people I reached out to. Becca on keyboards, she's still here too. Jade initially started on bass, but she's doing vocals now and killing it.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, she is. Based on all the music videos I've heard, she's doing great.
Yeah, she initially was playing bass in the band. And Eligio was the one that he was already there from the beginning, so he just hung on to it. I feel like I'm missing somebody. I feel bad. Chris was one of the first people I asked to play guitar too, and he joined in. So all those people, I accumulated them in 48 hours just through messaging on Facebook.
My God.
And they all were like, yeah, we're down. I'm just like, what the hell just happened? We went from a studio project to a live project in like a few days. Yeah, it's crazy what just asking people can do.
I guess really. That's an advantage of living in the Bay Area, though, because like I was thinking about that, you know, like I said earlier, you found me through Kyle, and I'm thinking about all the connections to. I was like looking at some of the other bands that your bandmates play in, and I'm like, oh my God, you probably can't walk out your door without running into another metal musician in San Francisco. Like, if Fallujah's there, you know, like all these big, like, you know, bands that are like loosely related to your style and this scene, I mean, they're everywhere. It's swarming. So I guess that kind of doesn't surprise me. 48 hours, that's like, whoa. We've been trying to find a rhythm guitarist and a vocalist for my band for like 6 months, and like literally every single one flakes out. So I'm kind of jealous, but I want to hear more about that process.
Oh, no, I mean, I will say that part of it is just talking to people and knowing people. Cause like I said, when I first started out, I took maybe 5 or 6 years where it was exactly what you're describing. It's constantly trying to get members and they just keep dropping and disappearing. Cause there's a lot of people that say, yeah, I want to write music, and then don't put in the effort, the money, and the time. I don't think they realize how much work it really takes. You got to be really committed, or else, yeah, it's going to bite you. It's going to bite you real hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I guess emotionally, spiritually, musically, like, what is the importance of Arcane Existence to you? Why is it the thing you really wanted to share with the world?
Part of it is it's the music I've always wanted to write without bounds. I know I've always wanted keyboards, singing, and that was always something that was really hard because locally, finding a good musician that can do both keyboards and singing is almost near impossible. So I still fangirl over Becca every day. The fact that she's in this band, because she is amazing.
She plays harp too, right?
Yeah, she plays harp. She plays harp. She plays piano. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. Okay, this is amazing.
I can't believe that I got her. I still feel like I don't understand why she's here, but she loves the music. And I'm like, every time she says that, I'm like, oh my God, she likes my music.
Blushing.
She's great. I completely lost track of your question. What was the question?
Just kind of, you know, like I do want to know more about sort of the cast and characters and like what the storyline is and stuff. But I figured, you know, you said you wrote kind of dark poetry in high school. Like, you know, what is it about this medium that allows you to express those things? And then what are those things? Like, you know, I feel like a lot of people throughout their life, they have like their special interest or their special hobby or topic that they love bringing up. And like, for me, I get a very, you know, mystical vibe from the music and the imagery. What is all that stuff, or why is all that stuff really important to you?
I think, I don't know, fantasy has always been associated with kind of escaping from reality. I feel like we already deal with enough shit in day-to-day life. Why not make something that we don't ever see? But there is a relation, and I know Jade has been writing a lot more of the lyrics now, and she's definitely been taking it in the direction I've always wanted it, which is fantasy, but with a blend of kind of things that are relatable themes, dealing with like, you know, deeper issues that are within yourself that you need to take care of. But it takes a fantastical approach to make it, in my opinion, more intriguing and interesting and just a lot more freeing because you have so much content you could write about. It's limitless. On a more just general musician side of things, I've always wanted to inspire other females to do music, but most specifically metal, because I feel like it is such a male-driven industry. We can do whatever we want. Just because there's all dudes around us doesn't mean that we're limited and we should, you know, go do like pop or rock stuff because it's easier. So if I can inspire just one girl to pick up an instrument and feel like, yeah, I can write this stuff because I want to and I feel it and it's really a part of me, then, oh God, that's it. That's it right there.
That's goals. Well, let me talk about that because that's definitely a striking thing. You know, if people are hearing this and they want to go check out your music, you're going to see band photos and you're going to notice that pretty much everybody but your drummer is female, at least as far as I can tell, you know, making assumptions. So I'm like, wow, okay. So like you say that and then, you know, you're the lead composer and guitarist, but then you're like, no, I'm just going to get like 4 other women to join my band too to really take this a step further. So when you were finding band members, did you kind of vet for that because you wanted to build an assembly of women in metal, or did it just kind of work out that way? I guess with vocals, you know, you want a female vocalist versus male vocalist, but everything else, you know, you never know.
Yeah. I mean, I already knew Jade a bit from another project that we tried to start that was all girls and it didn't really happen. So I kind of took her with me. And then Becca, she actually reached out to me after the first album saying if I ever needed keyboards to hit her up. And that was my fangirl moment, by the way. That was the time I'd ever talked to her. First time ever. And I was just like, oh my God, she noticed me? What the hell is this?
Yeah.
So I can't believe that much. But that was the initial like used to be 3 girls, 3 guys. And to me, that was already like a really pivotal thing. And I wasn't seeking out girls so much. I mean, I was asking girls first, but like if they told me they couldn't do it or it's too hard, they weren't feeling it, I totally got it. And to, kind of putting aside, like Chris was probably the perfect guitarist for the project because to be completely honest, a lot of guitarists are very egotistical, self-centered, need to play solos, need to write all their own stuff. And having him in the band for the time he was here, there's a reason why we don't have another guitarist anymore. It's because I feel like he could never be replaced.
Oh.
And I can't think of having anybody else be there. So I'm just like, I'm just going to take on 2 guitars in one and just go for it. So on that note, we used to be half and half. And then as time went on, things just kind of mushed towards where now Tracy is on bass, which I'm so happy about because she is a bassist. That is such a hard thing to find. There's a lot of guitarists who play bass, and it's not the same thing. She can slap, she can play bass, she can bring in that nice, like, funky edge that we need. And it's like, I can't believe it, but we're slowly going that way. So far, Harley's holding up his end. He's smashing those drums hard, so I got no complaints.
So when it comes to composing and writing, then I know because this did kind of start off as like your solo project, it's really your mantle, it's your ideas. How do the songwriting duties kind of get passed around the band? Is it kind of like you're the lead and everybody just kind of does what you say, or do you guys, do they sort of sprinkle in their own ideas and things?
Right. I write the core composition, so I write out everything I can, all the keyboard ideas I have, all the drums, bass, guitars, everything. And then I give those to everyone else. And I'll usually have sometimes, I don't know how the third album is going to go, but I know for the second album, Jade and I would meet up in person and kind of do vocal rhythms together. She would come in with lyrics. Half of the lyrics are written by me, half are by her, because I kind of want to pass it on to her in the future. And we would just kind of, go off of each other. And like, if we want more lyrics here, we'll make up lyrics on the spot together and just kind of start. It's very fun.
Teach me your ways, because to me, that's the most, it's almost like this inner embarrassment. Like you have to just, I don't know how you do it, and I want to hear how you do it, but it's like, how do you just like kind of scat, sing, make up notes? Like it's so mystifying to me how vocalists do it, especially when it's on top of really complex technical stuff like what you've written. I just don't know how people do it.
I mean, Jade's the one doing most of it, but as far as I know, a lot of it's just rhythm. It's another rhythm instrument. You treat it like another rhythm instrument. Do you want to go in line with the instruments that are there, the drums, the bass, the guitars, or do you want to do something completely different? It's a very different feeling. Having lyrics there to begin with is definitely very helpful to kind of give you guidance and mess around and gel the lyrics in to make it fit the song. But Jade's part, I don't mess with too much. I have Becca go in, I tell her you can either take what I have and completely rewrite it, which she has done. And every time she does it, it throws me off a bit. And then with time, I'm like, yeah, you're better at this than me, I can tell.
Okay, this was good.
But then there'll be times where I just keep mine in it and she's happy with it. I haven't worked with Tracy on new material yet, but I want to do the same thing with her where I just give her the bass stuff and I say, okay, this is the basic structure. You can do what you want to make it your own and make it pop more because I'm not a bassist. Because that's also what I did with Harley. I give Harley the drums and he goes in. To be honest, when we went to the studio for the second album, he came in there for the first time. I had never heard him play most of these songs. And he did all of them in 3 days. And that includes a day of setup where you spend like maybe 6 hours setting up and then there he is blasting out the rest of them. I don't know how he did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God. That's crazy. Because isn't the second album, isn't Colossus like 13 tracks or something?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he banged it out.
Good job, Harley. That's crazy. Oh. Jesus. Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds like you have your shit together, quite frankly, you know, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with, you know, kind of the cohesion between you and your bandmates, but also just having a strong idea of what you want. I mean, I think a lot of people go into songwriting with just like, I just kind of want to make something happen. And they maybe don't have like a super honed in focus, which to me is like, okay, music's very subjective. How do you really get this laser focus on it? But I guess it's working out for you. So with Colossus, can you tell me about the story of that? Because I know from the album artwork, which is beautiful, it looks like maybe there's like a cult or like a traveling group of people coming out of this big illuminated cave and they're walking towards this castle. So epic journey ahead, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So the cover itself is literally the song, the end of the song, The Altar, because you're leaving the cave to go towards what is considered Colossus, is the big castle. The whole story that starts with mystic, which has a lot to do with just the foretelling of the story. It has little sprinkled like words and song titles in it that allude to the rest of the album.
Yes, foreshadowing. Love it.
I love foreshadowing so much.
Yes. Does it have callbacks? Are there callbacks on the album?
There are callbacks.
Spoiler alert. Okay,
there definitely are callbacks, and there are also, I will say, call forwards too, which nobody will know about yet because it's just, you know, there's no third album. But when you hear the third album, I love to allude to stuff in the future all the time.
That's job security, I believe. That's what that's called.
It feels good as a listener, I think, to find stuff that connects from the past and the future. You feel like, oh, you really found something, like you feel accomplished. Right. But going into like Sovereign Blood, it has to do with like this evil queen that's like killing all these people at a masquerade and like taking their blood to live. And this is considered the ruler that this cult is trying to throw over and like take her throne. And transmutation is them killing her. And then it goes on to like the cult forming, which is formation and conclave. They're both, it's the cult forming together. The Scroll of Augury leads them to the altar. The altar is where they gain this ultimate power that the queen once had. And the idea is that in the coming songs, there's kind of about the corruption of power. How everybody always thinks that I can do power better than you. I can do it without being corrupted. I'm innocent. I'm able to be the smart one on top. And then once they feel that power, it just immediately taints them. And kind of like how nobody's truly innocent if given the opportunity to have such power. That's like
I like that storyline. I don't know if I've ever like consumed any media that has a similar thread to that. Was that a parallel to your own personal life in any way, or just more of a hey, just wanted to get this out here?
Yeah, it was just an idea. It's just kind of something that eventually comes out of the music itself. You're like, oh, this makes sense. Let's go with this.
Well, I suppose when you're writing in like a very kind of symphonic, death metal-y kind of style, you know, that is kind of associated with these very epic things, and that seems pretty freaking epic. What are some philosophies, I guess, you have about, you know, bringing these types of stories to people? Like, is there a certain reaction or kind of feeling you're looking for the listener to get, or you just kind of throw it out there?
I mean, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. I mean, Jade might feel more strongly about the lyrics she's written. She might feel like, you know, I feel like somebody should gain some sort of insight into this. And there is definitely a deeper meaning, like I was saying earlier, like the more psychological side of things. If you really sit there and read the lyrics and really like pay attention to the feeling of the song, you might feel some like pivotal insight into your own life. But that's kind of like the bonus, I think, for the most part. I just want people to enjoy the music as a whole.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people would say that, you know, good art challenges people, but then to me it's like, sometimes I just want to hear cool riffs. I don't really want to think about it.
Yeah, same, honestly.
So, I'm looking at my notes about the altar, because, you know, at the time of this interview, yes, I'll get it out soon. But, you know, at this point, you have 2 singles out. You have Sovereign Blood and The Altar. And I know The Altar, that was your first music video, correct?
Yeah.
So what was that whole process like? It looks amazing, by the way. The imagery and, I mean, not just the quality, but just the everything freaking going on. It's awesome.
Yeah, geez, that whole shoot was a wild, wild experience. So the people we got was a friend of a friend as the director, and then the video guy, Ben. He actually does video work for the Warriors, like the basketball team. Like he's a serious dude. He does a lot of crazy stuff. This guy has like a $30,000 camera that's like super big with all the millions of buttons on it that make no sense. He's a genius, and that guy does tons of high quality, high end stuff all the time. I don't know how we got him. It's just all connections once again. So we would meet with the director, every so often. We would discuss what we wanted to do, and he'd help plan things out. And what we concluded was we want to build our own set. And so we built that set in Harley's backyard in a week.
What?
Bought everything through Home Depot and like Michael's Arts and Crafts, and just built it together.
Holy crap.
I am blown away because I wasn't there for a lot of it, but I know that a lot of people came down and were helping out. And then I think near the end, we all kind of came together for the finishing touches. And, we had Ike was the guy who designed our symbol, which is our new prominent logo. And he actually came over and airbrushed it onto the walls himself. That was a big plus. And we started filming, I think, from like 12 to 12 that day. So from like 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., we just were filming that whole time. And I mean, I don't know. It was just the most surreal experience I've ever had. And I think we were just kind of like fangirling over the moment. As one person's filming, we're all standing back, like watching from afar. It looks like your typical behind the scenes with the big camera and the big lights, the big fancy backdrops and everything. We're all just like, how is this real right now? This feels like something like a signed band would be getting, funds for by their label. Like, this is insane.
Did you guys crowdfund it, or did you all just go, hey, I'm pitching in,
Yeah, we all paid for it ourselves.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's gotta be so rewarding though, like to finally see the finished product and seeing that it turned out so professional. I mean, I was like, wait, they haven't done a music video before? Like, this is legit. This is so good. Like, everything in it is just so good. And I can't imagine how that feels.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very fun. Very, very, very cold night. It was in October, so it was pretty cold. But I have never suffered so much for something so wonderful.
Is it as awkward as it always kind of looks behind the scenes? Because it's like, the little bit I can remember from it, obviously there's different shots of like each instrumentalist doing their thing. What are you actually doing during that time? You're just kind of standing there mocking the playthrough. Like, you don't have like in-ears or anything to really hear what you're doing, right?
It was all played through PAs and stuff. I think most of the people in the back were either standing by a fire trying not to die, or there was a bit of alcohol at the end, so that definitely kept people occupied. And then, sometimes you try not to mock the person too much, because then they might get distracted and start laughing and ruin the whole shot. So you just kind of keep quiet and kind of hold yourself close and watch. Otherwise, it's... Yeah, you want to be careful not to make them laugh, because that's every shot's important.
Take 49.
Yeah.
God. Man. Yeah, I just thought it's kind of going back to what we were saying before about how you like the idea of inspiring women to join metal projects in particular, but like I just listed a couple bands I could think of that are also doing these really high quality shoots now. Like, I'm sure you're familiar with, Vinter C, and then like Dawn of Ouroboros and all these bands that we're all kind of connected with through our online friends group, I guess, but in Ginger, obviously, but like just seeing, I guess, women really stepping up to the plate and like pursuing these, big high-end music videos, or like Vinter C did the Metal Injection live performance and stuff. That's got to make you feel like, ooh, I'm doing that too, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely feel like it's very good to see a lot more women coming up lately. Like to put out Spirit Box, for example. Like, wow.
Yes.
I can't believe how far they've come. Just in the past few years, they've been growing and becoming this. I feel like they're going to become one of the behemoths of metal. They're doing so well on such an upwards trajectory, and honing in and have the professionalism in their music, it's coming there. And total side note on that, they've actually heard some of our music and have specifically said,
how did you find that out?
Yeah, so I joined their Patreon when they first started it, and they had a thing where if you signed up for like their, I don't know if it's their top tier or something, you could have them review your music. And I was like, opportunity, need to take it. So I had them actually listen to The Altar, and they completely said, like, this is great. Like, you clearly have a sound that's locked in. Like, everything here is good. It's professional quality. They had no feedback on the music itself.
Wow.
Like,
is it the whole band or just Courtney, or like?
It was Courtney and Mike, I believe. So they're guitarists. Okay. Yeah. They were both sense. There. Yeah, completely no comments on the music. And I shared that with the band, and I was like, guys, like this was a while ago, way before all the songs came out. I told them, like, guys, we have something really special here, and I hope you all know that. And like, this is a really big deal.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, I mean, congratulations, honestly. And I completely agree with you. I think what Spirit Box is doing is great. And like, okay, I'm curious to hear your opinion on this, though. Like, it does happen all too often where you get dude band with female singer or dude band with 2 female members or something. And it's like you end up treading this very weird territory between, are they famous because they're female and they're in the minority, or are they famous because of their talent? And like, where do you mesh those two things together? Because you're never going to get the real answer to that question. But like, you know, how do you deal with that, I guess?
I definitely see that a lot, because there are a lot more female vocalists than there are female guitarists, bassists, drummers. Because putting a female in the limelight is going to get you more attention. Metal is a bunch of dudes. They want to see hot chicks, you know, singing, and people always look towards the singer. Come on. I know I usually will. I mean, I look towards guitarist depending on the band, but I will definitely look towards the singer way more often than the guitarist. It depends. I feel like if it's a marketing strategy, it comes off very obviously and it can be off-putting. If it's purely just because of, you know, this is how we mesh, this is how we gel, then I mean, that's great. And like anything, there's a lot more female vocalists in general. As I'm sure if there was more diversity, we would have more diversity to begin with. It's hard. It's hard. I really do wish that there was more females doing instruments to diversify things.
I'm starting to look for that now when I'm watching bands. Like, I honestly didn't know until very, very recently that Skillet, I think, has a female drummer, and I'm like, is it? Yeah, I think it's Skillet.
It's Skillet, yeah.
And I'm like, see, I was listening to them for years and years, and I never would have known. But that's where it's kind of like, when you have a woman singing, it's unmistakable it's a woman singing. But when you have a woman behind the axe, you know, you can't tell unless you're watching a music video. So it's kind of like, how do you vie for more representation when nothing about your instrument gives away your gender, you know, if you're not the singer?
I think people just need to realize that gender probably shouldn't matter as much. I mean, I know that we all care about that kind of stuff, but like, I feel like you should always play your instrument as you would just as a musician, blanket term, no gender involved. And I've definitely treated my playing like that. I give myself no excuses to be, you know, not as good as anybody else because, you know, guys can play faster. And it's like, well, I can play faster too if I just practice. So
yeah,
I feel like I could understand how that's why they want to take advantage of females being the vocalist, because it's more obvious, like you said, and that's going to pull people in quicker. If you have a female guitarist, they're not going to know if there's a dude on vocals that there's also a chick in the band. So I think it really just depends on what draws you in. I mean, I'm not going to tell people that want to do vocals, hey, you might want to do an instrument instead. You know, if you're vibing with the vocals, you want to start doing screams. That's sick. We need that. We need females on everything, more and more and more. Help break it up. We need more all female bands too. That would be great,
because they so often come across as gimmicky. Like, there are a lot of like explicitly gimmicky all women bands, but then
definitely,
you know, you have a lot that aren't at all. I just know I get like a weird vibe sometimes. Like, have you seen Delane live ever? I wasn't sure if you listened to them. Okay, damn it. Well, they're like the quintessential, female singer, and I think they used to have a female bassist, melodic death metal or whatever, kind of gothic rock. And then you go see their show live, and it is 98% dudes. It is like, middle-aged, balding dudes, like staring slack-jawed at the lead singer, like, googly eyes. And I'm just like, okay, so how do you get that band, and how do you get them on stage for their merits and not for their gender, while avoiding the types of people who are going to go show up just to watch how hot the singer is? Like, how do you do that? I don't know.
It's hard because I feel like symphonic metal has a lot of that exact equation. Chick vocalist wearing the corset and like the dress and long flowing hair with the wind,
the eyeliner, and
right, and they're doing like opera stuff, and all the guys are playing, very basic chords and just like almost power metal stuff just to back her up. And it's usually a lot of older dudes too, which is always very interesting. It's very formulaic in style because that's a very common symphonic metal setup. I've seen it a lot of times, both on big and small scales, and I would assume that some of them are doing it purely because they know it works. Because I mean, just look at the playing field. There's so many people doing it, and the guys, sadly, they're just so easily drawn to a hot chick on stage. Like, that's why you don't usually have a dude that's super buff and shirtless doing vocals, and all the chicks are there to see him. It's usually a bunch of guys that are there because there's some brutal death metal band. He's super heavy and evil looking or something. Right. And I think it's also because that just works in other genres too. I think it's like the opposite in the pop world. Like, I would say most male vocalists in the pop world are going to have a lot of female fans because they think that he's cute and hot and sings about things that they like. And it's just the total opposite in metal. And I don't know how to change it other than getting more chicks even just into the genre to begin with. Because Delane's a great band. I would go see them live if they came through here. I'd go see them. And it could be area based too, because I've been to some symphonic metal shows and it's been pretty diverse, females and guys.
Interesting.
It's definitely still a thing, so I'm not surprised that you're saying that.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to like uphold the same stereotypes that I'm trying to get people to not hold me to, but sometimes they end up being so true for a reason. I'm like, oh, god damn it. But it seems like your band, the way you're handling it and putting out quality content and stuff, you're on the right track if I have to say that. So before I forget, talking about, success on your own merit and not for your gender, you told me this week that you got an endorsement recently. So
yes.
Are we allowed to talk about that? And can you tell me a little bit more?
By the time this is out, I'm hoping it's announced. And if it's not, then surprise, I guess.
Yay! You heard it here first.
So I got endorsed by Arachnid Cabs, who's in Sacramento. And Rob, who's the guy who basically builds everything by hand. This guy is amazing what he does. I don't know how he builds cabs from scratch, like from the wood all the way up to wiring and finishing it off. Like he's great at what he does. And I purely reached out to him because I had seen his work and I really wanted to finally just take the dip and go for a custom cab because he can do custom logos on the cabs too, which I was like, that would be sick.
I went to the website and I was like, holy shit, this guy's handiwork is insane. They're beautiful.
Yeah, he's a real craftsman for sure. He definitely knows what he's doing. And so when I hit him up, I was just kind of asking him, details about like custom logos and stuff like that. And then he was like, oh, let me give you an artist coupon. And I was like, okay, I guess, sure. And he like made me a coupon for my band. Like it was incorporated into the coupon. And then it was never explicitly stated that I was endorsed, but I was like, this is really sus. And I think he's endorsing me without actually saying it. So I didn't say anything until I finally picked up the cab and I was like, hey, so by the way, am I endorsed now? He's like, oh yeah, just like send me a picture and I'll put you on the site. And I was like, cool, man, that sounds
Thanks.
great. Like, awesome. So like he was super chill about it. But you know, I've got a photo shoot coming up soon here to do some really nice high-end photos and put myself on that site, because I actually had a goal at the beginning of this year to get endorsed by the end of the year. Somehow that happened in a way I never expected.
That's great. So what, now forgive me because I'm a drummer. When you say cab, you're really just referring to the cabinet. That's like, okay, I'm going to make myself sound stupid. Please explain to me what exactly that is and how that fits into like the whole package of an amp.
Right. So the cabinet is what houses the speakers, like you said. Typically either 2x12 or 4x12. So that means either they have 2 or 4 speakers. 4 is very common. That's like the usual full stack, which is like the head with the cab. People have been kind of going more towards the 2x12 because it's smaller, lighter, and we don't need a fat wall of sound, because most of the time if the place is big enough, they'll mic it up anyways. So, and then for him at least, like you can pick whatever speakers you want. I'm no audio person that knows anything about that, so I just let him kind of go like, yeah, whatever you recommend, man. I trust the guy who builds cabs for a living to know what speakers are good. And that's kind of where the custom part comes in. It's like, what speakers do you want? How do you want it arranged? I know he can do like bass cab and guitar cabs combined, which is interesting.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that.
And then whatever finish you want on it, whatever color you want on it. He also will do like full artwork prints on the screen. So if you want to do like, you know, the album cover on the screen of it, you could do that.
I think I saw cool. Artists on the site had like a big picture of Godzilla on the front of it. And I'm like, I have never, ever in my life seen any kind of amp or cab with that sort of customization. I just thought, that's really like kind of like an untapped market, I guess, especially if you're like working in a band that has, it's very like visual imagery based and fantasy and storyline based. It feels like the possibilities are kind of endless with that.
Yeah, that's kind of why I didn't go that route, because I felt like I would never be able to pick what I wanted on it. Because I saw all those cool ones. I'm like, God, these all look so cool. I don't think I can make mine look that cool without spending like a year really planning this design.
What did you end up going with, though?
Just black, very simple black. The logo, you know, custom made in the center. And I did some LED rings, too, because you can do that. Custom color, whatever you want. Super cool.
Oh, that's so fancy. I'm sure it's going to make an appearance if you do some playthrough videos or something.
Oh, but, it will. It will.
Okay. So stay tuned for the custom cabs. Now, before I forget about this, I remember a couple months back, I think, I remember I'm scrolling through Facebook the one day and I see you like change your profile picture and you had this crazy like demon mask thing on. So for a while, your profile picture was like this, you know, red demonic looking thing, and I'm like, this is awesome. What is this? So clearly you're very into the costuming and the imagery. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is? Like, have you used any of those masks for Arcane Existence stuff too?
Yes, the altar video has that.
How did I miss
it?
Mask. I'm sorry.
I get
blink
killed.
And miss it, I guess.
It's totally part of the whole thing. I get killed and I come back as that, and I play the solo with that mask on too.
I missed that. I had it open in a tab. I like started watching it, and then I'm listening, and then I come back at the end. So that's how I missed it. But
yeah, it's in the middle somewhere. But yeah, it's definitely in the video. If we want to dive deep into those, like I'm all about those masks in particular. They're actually made out of silicone, and that's why they actually move to your face and actually form to your face, and they are like the best alternative to doing like actual makeup, like real special effects makeup that takes countless hours. You just kind of put it on in like 10 minutes and you're done.
Well, it like, I remember the first time I saw a picture of you wearing it, it's almost like, it really does look like it kind of molds to your brow and your jaw and everything. And like, I'm like, whoa, she must be a cosplayer or something. And I'm like, this is sweet, because I'm not into like horror and fantasy all that much, but I thought that, again, craftsmanship here, it's really interesting. So is that a local company to you or what?
The place is called Immortal Masks, and they actually are in Hollywood. And there's a couple of them in Hollywood that are like the really big behemoths of silicone masks. And like, these places make like, I want to say at least 100 different versions of them. And every single one, like they initially mold it out of clay, completely their own original designs, and then like mold it into silicone, and everything is hand painted. All the stuff that's added on, like hair, horns, whatever details you want, are all hand put on as well. So these are like professionals that have been in the industry making these by hand. That's why they look so professional.
Yeah,
like
they look
people use
real,
them in
like
movies.
scary real.
Yes. They're very, very, very nice.
Well, because I blinked and missed it, obviously, what's so what, the demon, that's not, you aren't the queen. You aren't playing the queen in that video, right?
No.
Okay. Is this a recurring character that we're going to see pop up in future albums? Or perhaps?
I've thought about it. It might happen. I haven't cemented it. We have another music video, by the way, that will be coming out. And it's...
Oh, what's the next one?
I won't say much about it because I don't want to give away too much. I can just say that there's another music video, and it's
Fair.
I feel like every time I try to think of something to say, I'm like, that's going to give something away, and I don't want to give things away. I don't want to be too, I don't want to tell too much. I kind of like to leave it,
That's fair. I'll shift the question to this then. What, please remind everyone listening, what's the release date for Colossus? And then once that is out, what would you say your goals are for the future with Arcane Existence?
The release date is August 20th. My goals for this band really are just to keep making albums and see where that takes us. It would be really cool, like for my personal goals, I want to get endorsed by more companies. I want to accomplish things as a musician myself. And I think a lot of us are kind of on the same page with that. So we want to play more shows, maybe get a little tour in there, play some festivals, like kind of in California, maybe eventually tour further into the US. And then just keep growing as a band, keep writing material. And I always want to grow as a writer as well. I'm always challenging myself with each new release. Like I've been writing the third album technically for 2 years now, on and off.
Wow.
I kind of take my time with it because there's no rush. I like to put out ideas and then maybe revisit them and go back into them and be really harsh on my own material. I'm not afraid to throw stuff away if I don't like it. And each album has a theme. I have had the second, third, and fourth album themes for the past 3 years.
Oh, wow. So you're really sitting on them. Okay.
So, and I have a tentative fifth album idea, but it's like, second one's not even out yet. So
get two out and then...
So I have a theme for the third album, and I've been holding on to that. And I feel like, to kind of give a hint, the 12th track definitely hints towards the third album, and that was on purpose. Whether people will notice what that is thematically, it's kind of an Easter egg. If you can figure it out, always just wait till the third album.
I like the callbacks. I like the call forward. So this is good. Now, I thought I saw, aren't you guys playing a show soon?
Yes, we're playing a show in September with Jade's other band, Embryum, which also has another chick writer, guitarist as well. Good friend, too. So that's a good show. We have another one in August that hasn't been announced yet. That will be our album release show on release day, August 20th, of course. But I'm sure we'll have a lot more shows to come, too.
Does it feel kind of surreal that you get to release an album right at the tail end of, life sort of resuming to normal and coming back?
Yeah, I haven't been to a show since pre-COVID yet, so I don't even remember what it feels like. Like, I have memories, but I don't remember the feeling of it. Right.
I'm feeling the same way, and I don't know about you, but I'm almost kind of nervous to go to my first show next month, because I'm almost like, is it going to be as good as I'm building it up in my head? Like, I missed this so much. I can't wait to go back. But I'm sure it's different when you're playing a first show too, as opposed to viewing a first show.
Yeah, I'm excited just to play again in general. I don't really care how many people show up at this point. But I also really want to go to a show. Like, I definitely I'm sure a lot of people are doing the same thing. I have signed up for so many shows in the next few months. I have bought every ticket to every show that I want to go to. And normally I'm so introverted. I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? And it's like, because I have to make up for lost time.
Yes.
Like I have to go to all these shows now.
What's on your roster of shows coming up?
I'm seeing Unleash the Archers with Aether Realm and I want to say Seven Kingdoms. I love Aether Realm. Love that band. I'm also seeing Evanescence, which is like, I am forever a hardcore fan of Evanescence. They're the reason I write stuff with keyboards. I would never have keyboards if I'd never gotten into them. God, I feel like there's a million other things. Oh, Paris. That's with a V. I love Paris too.
Okay.
I've seen them probably 5 or 6 times now already. I just love them so much. And I think the other stuff I signed up for was like conventions. Like there's a convention coming in August I'm going to, and there's like Renaissance Fair that's coming in October I want to go to. It's just like,
are you going in costume with your mask?
Thought about it. I would like
That would be really, really hot in California
exactly.
in August with silicone strapped to your face. So maybe not, but okay. I'm looking at a couple of my last kind of general questions that I like to close out with, but in general, I think I'm excited for the second album. I personally am never like extraordinarily attracted to like the symphonic goth thing, but I think the execution is just really good, and based on the music video and just from a plain sonic standpoint, I think the music sounds so good. So I'm excited. I'm ready to hear it. That's pretty fantastic, and I'm excited that, you're seeing your stuff come to life. Okay, let's say this all takes off and you do get to go on a tour. Who would you want to be on a tour with?
Oh, no.
Okay. I was like, I gotta ask that.
How big is this tour, though? Like, literally anybody I want could be on it?
Let's do, like, best case unrealistic scenario, and then, like, maybe more reasonable. You get 2 tours.
So... the unrealistic, insane one would be definitely Flesh God Apocalypse, which I hope to open for someday. That would be a dream. I want to say Carrick Angren as well. And
okay.
Just to really blow it out of the park, Dimmu Borgir, because they never come over here, and that would be the most insane thing in the world to play a show with them.
Whoa. That's a lot. Okay, fair. Do you even need a second answer with that? I mean, that's like all of the behemoths of symphonic death metal, basically.
Yeah,
wow.
Those are all the big ones. Those are a lot of the influences I have and we have. So it's like, of course we'd want to play with them. On a smaller level, the first band I think of is Singularity. I don't know if you're familiar with Singularity.
Why do I know them? Aren't they like a progressive metal band, kind of?
Sort of. They have like some like keyboard elements in their stuff, and they're kind of technical death metal, but I've always felt like there's more melody in what they do. And they're only from Arizona, so like I know the possibility of us playing with them.
Yeah. Okay, I can see the logo in my head now. Yes. Yeah. I'm not very familiar with their stuff, but
I love their first album. I think that album is so good. I would love to play a show with them someday. God, I'm trying to think of, there's so many bands. I know we're good friends with Devils of Luden.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We've played a show with them before, actually, but I would like to play a show with them in their home state of Washington at some point. That'd be really, really cool.
Do little Pacific Northwest run. That would be fun.
Yeah. And I
could see you guys. I could definitely see you guys on a tour with Binnersea. I keep hoping and praying that they'll come out to the East Coast someday for sure.
I'm not familiar with them.
Oh man, you got to go look them up after that. Well, like they're like symphonic black metal. They have a female singer, and she does all these like wild things with her vocals. They have very like arcane kind of creepy mystic imagery. They've done some really, really great music videos with, like people wearing big robes walking through a desert with mystical orbs. Very much sounds like up your alley. I'll send you a link when we're done. But yeah, they're based out of, I think, Corvallis, Oregon, maybe Portland. I can't remember. So
really?
I'm going to try to manifest a West Coast tour for you.
Yeah, that's not far then. I mean, I'm just going to add them to the list of bands that we like to play with based off that. Like, they're only up north there.
No.
That's perfect.
I like to get people's opinions on, okay, in a perfect world, who would fit your sound? Who do you think you would want to tour with? And like, it's weird, like, being a person that likes to talk to people about music, you just truly never know what kind of weird opportunities come out of someone listening to our conversation. You just never know. So I might as well throw it out there.
Yeah, I definitely want to check them out. Do send that over.
I will. I will for sure. So as we approach almost the hour mark, I'm thinking of a couple last questions, but one I've been throwing in that I like is, if you could ask one artist, alive or dead, a couple of questions, who would you ask, who would you hang out with, and what would you ask them?
Okay, so ask them some questions. The thing is, I don't know if I have any questions for anybody because I feel like a lot of the answers are just in putting the hard work in and making connections in the world. Because I've actually met Amy Lee before.
Oh, and nice.
That was like the biggest full circle moment of my life. And to be honest, I didn't really have any questions for her in that moment either. It was mostly just me gushing about how much I love their music and how much she's influenced me. And even if I think about the artists that I respect a lot now beyond her, like I know Nurgle from Behemoth, like that guy is genius. He's a genius. They've marketed their stuff so well. And it's like, but that's because they put in the work and they've made the music, and, it's all part of the marketing that goes with the music. And I don't think I'd have any questions for anybody.
That's such a good answer. That's a great answer, because it's totally not what I expected. Some people are like, "Oh, what's your favorite color?" I like that answer, though. You're right. They already put in the work, so what else is there to say, really, other than, I guess, abject admiration for their craft?
Yeah, that's all I can give.
Okay, I like that answer. Are there any things you would change about the music industry right now? I didn't get to ask you about that. Like, I can ask you right now. Like, you have 2 singles out, you have this big grandiose album coming out, and I feel like with a lot of bands, they're really like slaves to this single cycle where you got to keep feeding everybody because our attention spans are so short. Are you finding yourself doing that with your band, and is it a struggle?
The single issue you're talking about, as far as I can tell, is most genres that aren't metal. I've definitely heard that saying that, like, you need to be putting out singles all the time because, with the way it is with social media and all this internet crap, like, people are taking things at a faster rate. If something doesn't catch someone in 3 seconds, they're going to leave. But I feel like with metal, we are still fortunate enough to live in an album world. Like, dropping singles like we're doing is a good way to build momentum and kind of, each single is an opportunity to get more fans or more interest versus the last one. And that's kind of how I see it. But once the album comes out, we just have to keep pushing it until it basically runs dry. Singles don't really work with this kind of stuff because it takes so much more work to write, record, produce these things and get them out. We're not like a pop artist that can just sit in their bedroom and play one song, record it the next day at their buddy's place, and have a single ready by the end of the week. Like, we can't afford that kind of like pushing out single after single. I wish we could. I mean, but at the same time, that would mean I have to write a lot more shit. And I don't know if I want to do that because I feel like the quality would go down too.
Yeah.
I want to spend the time I need to make this the most perfect thing and really polish up and make this beautiful package to ship out. I mean, I could go on about how the industry is so saturated because of social media, which I feel like forces people to also be willing to kind of push themselves and risk what they're writing if they want to really get somewhere that will last. And I feel like that's good. We need more originality, but I mean, you kind of have to ride the flow or else get kicked off,
Yeah, it's very much a gray area. I think you need
enough
familiarity to kind of resonate with people, but then you want to do something that makes you stand out. And it's like, well, how do you do both?
It's hard. It's hard. I think you just have to make your own sound and be willing to hone in on that and not try to sound like somebody else. Do what makes you feel good. And it is risky as hell, but kind of have to do what makes you happy.
Yes. That being said, do you, how do you determine when your song is ready and done? I always like to ask that one too, because you strike me as a perfectionist.
Yeah, it can definitely get hard. The first step I always have, and it's funny because I'm literally working on a song right now for the third album that has been plaguing me for the past like month or so. And it's like, all I do is every day I just tell myself, make something a little bit different. And that way it helps me figure out what I do and don't like about it. Because otherwise I just sit there staring at the screen and I can't think of what comes next that feels right. I always focus on getting the general composition done first. Once that's done, I can go in and mostly if I'm happy with the overall composition, it's just tiny things like transitions, accents. Maybe I want like a little bit of a lead here, a little bit of a keyword here. I try to be very good about saying, okay, this song is done. I can listen to it front to back and I don't have a moment where I'm like, I don't like that so much. Then it's done. Because otherwise, if I start really sitting on it too long, I'm going to start nitpicking like that one note. I don't like it. Why does that sound wrong? You kind of have to just be okay with it and just know it's your best work that you can do in the moment.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. I have the advantage of you being one person right now. It's impractical to ask 5 people this, but I realize I don't typically ask people what their practice habits are like.
Oh.
If you have anything to offer.
Yes. So I actually took a month-long guitar lesson thing once per week with Scott Carstairs.
My favorite guitarist ever.
My favorite guitarist too.
Yes.
I'm so picky with guitarists. Like I really don't like a lot of guitarists, but I love him because he takes the simplest shit and makes it so catchy. And that to me is the core of good music.
If I could bottle his tone and drink it every day, it's amazing.
Dude is super humble, super nice guy. He also liked our album, if that means anything. He's also a phenomenal teacher. The sweetest, most patient guy who is willing to get down to as basic a thing as you want. Because I'll be honest, I don't know music theory worth a shit. Like scales, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Wow. I just write stuff that sounds cool.
The elusive, humble guitarist.
Yes.
Wow.
And so he showed me all of that stuff, but I also asked him, like, what kind of practice stuff do you recommend to build up speed? And, for the most part, he gave me some really basic, like, runs up and down the neck, like between the index finger and the middle finger. You just hammer on up each string, and that makes sure you're picking at the same time. And then when you go back down, it's just hammer-ons all the way. Don't even pick. And you just do that all the way up. Then you go from middle to ring, do the same thing all the way up as fast as you can, and then ring to pinky all the way up. And that has already made my fingers just like, also in a lot of pain, but totally worth it.
Yeah.
I'd say that is finding stuff that you can just kind of drill your finger strength is really important. The other thing I always tell people is if you're going to practice to a damn metronome.
Yes.
People that tell me they have a fear of a metronome, I'm like, you need to get over that shit if you want to actually play in time. I'm sorry, but it's okay to play to a metronome. I practice so much shit to a metronome, and it's okay to slow it down too. Start slow and build up. People want to play the shit at speed from the gate, and it's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Everybody's done it. I know I did it when I first learned. I was terrible. My shit was horribly out of time. And then looking back on it, I'm like, what were you doing? You weren't practicing it slowed down. I practiced my own material slowed down to even like 40%. If I want to sit there and really nitpick how clean I'm playing it. Because then when I go back to 100, it sounds like 10 times cleaner.
Right.
It's so important.
Have you ever written something like on your computer that you then couldn't play on your actual guitar?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. At least not cleanly. It was terrible. It would sound really sloppy. It was like, yeah. And if I really liked it, I'm like, well, I'm going to have to learn it then. Too bad.
Do you practice like every day? I mean, I know a lot of musicians are like, oh yeah, you got to do that every single day. I'm thinking I need a little bit of a break, but.
I try to, but if there's a day where I'm not feeling it, if I just go hang out with my friends and to kind of let some steam off, then I'm not going to force myself to, do it while I'm not in the mood. Plus, I feel like it's good for your hands and your body in general to just relax after all that. I've had times where I take like a couple weeks off and don't even really play that much. And I come back and I'm way better because all that frustration and stress has gone away. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta start asking people this question more because I'm thinking, what's the point of even listening to my podcast if you don't get a cool tip here or there? So thank you for sharing that. That's all good.
Yeah, of course.
Before I ask you my last question, are there any other things you want to mention about the new album or Arcane Existence before I let you go?
The new album, wow. It is insane to have this finally coming out because we were in the studio for a little over a year with this because of COVID and everything going on. Like we started recording this in 2019 and
wow,
it's been a wild ride, but listening to this, I can't even believe that this album is real. And so I hope people will enjoy it because after the first album, the fact that people even cared about that still boggles my mind. So for them to care about this second album, I would hope that those people would come around and be like, wow, there's a lot of growth as at least on my end compositionally, but then having all these people supporting me that are the band and could really make this thing sound as full as it is. Every time I really get lost in the album, I just feel so grateful to have these people in this band. I never would have guessed I'd ever be here, a few years back when this first started. It's amazing.
Living the dream.
Yeah, for real. And I think that's another little ping of advice for people is to never stop. Like, admittedly, there was a time before I joined Among the Torrent where I was really considering, I kid you not, stopping music. I actually thought I was going to give up because I had tried for so many years and it was like I was at a really low point. And then out of nowhere, Among the Torrent posted that they needed a guitarist and I liked their music and I was kind of like, a bit scared because I'm like, I'm nobody. And I went in there with the drive and the willingness to learn. Like I remember when I joined that band, Michael, the other guitarist, told me like, you were the only one that came in here who actually knew the material, like actually took the time to sit down and learn it. And I think that says a lot about if you really want to do this, just don't stop. Keep practicing, do your best work, put yourself out there, especially with social media. Like if you want to do covers, original material, collaborate with people online, just keep doing what you love and always focus on the reason why you're doing it and not where you want to go with it.
That's an excellent point. Then I'm going to betray your trust right now and ask you my last question.
Yes.
If you could only listen to 3 albums for the rest of your life, couldn't choose any more, what would they be and why?
Number one, I have to really think about this. The Open Door from Evanescence.
Great album.
That album makes me cry. No matter how many times I listen to it, just the orchestrations on that are insane. If you've never listened to the album, listen to Your Star. It is a orchestral masterpiece, and it has some of like the heaviest shit I've ever heard from a band like them. Another album. If I could pick any Paris album, what would I pick? Probably such a long album name. All We Know of Heaven and All We Need of Hell.
I love that you remembered it. So great. Okay.
That album is just an emotional roller coaster from start to end. It's got everything from the super emotional, very big room feeling sad stuff to like the more in your face, like kind of high energy things as well. And the high energy song I'd also recommend is called No Mercy. Very fun song. And then the third album, jeez. First two were easy because they're both bands that I have tattooed on me, so it's like a dead giveaway. The third one, I don't have a third band. I would probably pick Brute Force from The Algorithm.
Really? Wow. I do not know many people that know him and his work, but
yes, I have messaged him and like commented on his stuff before, and he always responds and is always super nice. And I've just like,
isn't he French?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on
amazing.
in France. I don't know what's going on in France, but they have the weirdest, best music coming out right now. Like in the last 5 or 6 years. It's just insane. It's just crazy.
Yeah, they do. And that album got me through college. Like when I was studying, because I went to school for mechanical engineering, and that's, there's some heavy mathematics stuff going on. When listening to that album, like it got me through my senior year because it came out like right before I was done, and I like did a lot of my finals with that in the library, and it was like the most fun studying ever because you feel like you're like computing some sort of formula to rule the world or something crazy, and it's like it's super fun.
That's how I would describe that music. It's like some mad scientist that got shrunken down and like let loose into an electrified motherboard. It's just like weirdo tech metal electronic shit. It's so weird. He's a genius. And wild.
I love how weird it is and like heavy and just like it's so dynamic. His stuff is so dynamic. It's all over the place, but it's so good.
As soon as I send you those links to those bands, I mentioned I'm going to go listen to that album because it has been a while. I forget though. Is that the one that has? There's always that one track I remember. It's called like Octopus 7 or whatever.
That's from the Octopus. I think that album's called Octopus with the 4.
Okay, but then Brute Force is the one that has like it kind of looks like rainbow or something on the front. Maybe
it's like it looks like an isometric view of like a computer.
Yes. Okay. I gotta go back and re-listen to that because I feel like that guy's stuff is so underrated and unknown even in the like instrumental, technical, progressive world, and it shouldn't be because it's just fantastic.
Right. He's the only artist I'd be willing to fly over to Europe to see, like without a doubt, because he almost played in California and I had tickets to it and everything, and then he didn't get a green card in time, and I was just like, God damn it, dude, ruined. So now I've always made a thing, like if I'm ever going to go to Europe again, I'm going to go and see him because I need to witness that and I need to meet him and like shake his hand and be like, you are an amazing musician. I hope you know that.
Well, now that I know you studied mechanical engineering, I'm sure his live show's got to be weird because he does like all the programming. And I mean, I just can't imagine the literally technological and technical challenges that come with writing music like that and then trying to perform it live.
Yeah, he does live writing stuff on Twitch. I've watched some of them. And I think he posts them on YouTube too, where it's like a 2-hour thing of him writing. And it's just fascinating to see that guy chug away, just like, mouse clicking and typing and just like all these things happening. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's also a computer programmer too. So it makes sense. That wouldn't
surprise me. Not at all. Maybe Igor will bring him on a US tour. That would be...
They did a song together.
Pretty sick.
On Brute Force. Really? Yeah, there's Deadlock, I think, that song. It has featuring that, because they're all kind of in the same vicinity, I would assume. Right. They're both weird as hell, so.
I just remember I didn't know much about Igor until like a year or two ago. I'm like, they're French and they're weird. They must know each other.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely do know each other. They've worked together before.
Huh. Well, now I have all these things to look up when we're done here, but thank you. Thank you for being so patient and like waiting for me to do this interview with you because it's been a while. I know you were kind of waiting for more material to come out. So best of luck with the release. Hope everything goes smoothly. And, I'll drop links and stuff when we're all done. But, thanks again for giving me your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for waiting for our music to come out, too.
So. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm always happy to see more women in the metal world, and I will always have a soft spot in my heart for that. So, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed my interview, and make sure you mark your calendars. End of August, Colossus is coming out, and you can go buy that and support it on most streaming platforms, but make sure you go to the Arcane Existence Bandcamp page, which is arcaneexistence.bandcamp.com. I also have to note they have some really great merch. They have stuff you don't usually find. They have a lot of pins. They even have some picks. They have candles. They have all kinds of stuff in addition to t-shirts and patches. And don't forget to check out their album from 2017, The Dark Curse, as well. As always, thanks for listening.